All right, okay. Hello, Rebecca. This is Joy. As you can see, I'm already in my pajamas. But I'm going to do this for you because it will really help you. I've been sewing since I was 15 years old, and I didn't learn this until the last couple of years. It's very, very helpful. This is my Sure Fit Designs pattern. One of the things I don't like about the SFD patterns is that one side's always upside down from the other. In order for me to put these together at the waist, I have to turn the back upside down. It's not really a big deal, but you'll notice it. Okay, the first thing you want to do is get yourself a gauge that's 5/8 inch wide. And you want to mark your 5/8 inch seam allowance on your paper pattern that you have drawn out of your SFD dress kit. Now this particular one is for knit fabric, so it doesn't have any ease in it at all. I've experimented with this, and I know that it just has way too much ease. And so I come down 2 or 3 dots for knit. But you're going to be using woven. This just happens to be laying here tonight, so what I want to show you, I can show you with this. We're just drawing in the 5/8 inch seam line with a color we can see. This is one of those kids' erasable crayons. And make sure that your pattern's going to stay together, unlike mine that's falling apart here. I have to add length all the time to the bust on me. Somehow Glenda's bust darts just don't seem to be big enough for me. So I added a 1/2 inch length up there. Okay, so now you can see how I've drawn on the, I hope you can see, how I've drawn on the 5/8 inch seam line. That side and this side. Now, my pattern has a center back seam because I have a curved upper back and an extreme sway back. So I always put a 5/8 inch seam line on the back of my pattern. You may not have to have that. Of course, if you're making a woven, you're going to have it open somewhere, unless you're making a loose top and can get it over your head. I've made it that way too. I have pictures of several tops I made that way, okay? So that's my seam in the back, which you may or may not have. All right, so what you want to do is take some pins, put your bust dart in, or your sides aren't going to fit together. Line up the lines, the colored lines that you just put on there, showing where the seams are. You can see through this paper. Oh, this paper is not Glenda's paper. Glenda's paper is wonderful, and I love it. It's not really good for trying the paper on, as I said in my email, because it's kind of stiff. But this paper is that kind of paper that they put on doctor's tables. When I was going through Jerry's mother's house, getting it ready to paint and fix up and get it ready to sell, I found a case of that doctor paper in her house. I actually found a case of everything in her house, but that was one of the things that I was real excited to find, and I split it up between me and Phyllis, or Phyllis and I, and we've been using it because we can use the Palmer Plush method with it and pin it to our bodies. Okay, now you've got it pinned together at the side seams. Now, assuming that you know where your hip is on this paper pattern, and I'm sure you do, and you know where your waist is, and you know where your bust is. And remember, this is half a pattern because you're going to have 2 backs and 2 fronts. So this is half a pattern. So what you want to do is measure this half a pattern from, in this case, center front, because there's no seam down center front. This is my hip area down here. I wear my blouses pretty short. This is my hip area down here. Spread it out. Kind of walk your fingers along the tape and spread it out flat. And this measures over to the seam line on my back 40 1/2 inches. Now my hips are 42 inches. So this is a little bit narrow. It probably will fit because it's knit and it stretches, but if I cut this out, I will add a little bit to the side seam, just to make sure I've got plenty to play with on that hip. Now up here is my waist. So we want to measure from center front, flat, 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 over here to the back seam, and that's 19 and a quarter. So 19 and 19 is 38 and a half. My waist is 36. If I've eaten 3 meals and I'm swollen at the end of the day like I am now, it's probably 37. But that's more than enough room for a 37-inch waist in knit. When you come up here to the bust area, you kind of have to fiddle with it a little bit. Center front, into the bust, across, flatten it out, pull it straight, across, over to the seam line, and I've got 20 3/4. So that equals 41 and a half, and my bust is 41. So I know for a fact, if I make this up, that I've got plenty of room in the bust, plenty of room in the waist, and I might add a tad to the hip just to make sure. Another thing that you want to do is up here at the top of it, make sure it's staying together. I do so much to my pattern. Up here I put an upper round correction and a lower round correction, and I don't even need both of those. I'm probably going to fix this pattern, something I learned last week. Anyway, you're going to measure from the seam line in your arm's eye over to your back and make sure that you have enough to go from your shoulder here across your back to your other shoulder. You would take that measurement and you would double it. I'm 14, that's 14. It's perfect. Same in the front. You want to go from here to here in the front. You want to measure from center front over here, and I've got 6 3/4 inches, and I measure, let me see, that's 13 inches. I think I'm 12 and a half or something. So I have plenty in the front and plenty in the back. Okay? Now you will want to check your sleeve, and the best way to check the sleeve is to take the sleeve, pin it on its seam line, and pull it up on your arm. If it's too tight, then the fabric's probably too tight. Okay? You're going to sneeze. Excuse me. Almost, I cut it. Okay? All right, I'm going to stop this before it gets any longer. Bye, Rebecca.